Task 10. Okay, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be paying our payroll taxes. So we have our check reference here that needs to be entered. So again, this is going to be a payment through the bank account, but this doesn't relate to the supplier ledger, so it's just going to be a direct payment, but we will need to allocate it to the correct nominal code. Again, earlier in the module I did say that when we pay our payroll taxes, we'll be sending one cheque to HMRC, but the PAYE and the NI liability need to be accounted for separately. So they need to be entered to two different nominal codes within Sage. So let's just do that now. So if I go to Sage and go to Bank, we just want to select Payment. Okay, this brings up the bank payment screen, which you've seen before. So just check that you are in the right account. We're going to be making the payment out of our current account, and enter the date. The reference will be the cheque number. Now I've sort of left it to you to try and find the nominal code. So this is going to be effectively money that we owed to HMRC, so it would have been classified as a liability. So again, you can have a look at your chart of accounts to familiarise yourself with the nominal codes for current liabilities. If I enter 2, then we get the drop down menu, and you can just scroll down and have a look, and you can see here we have our category for PAYE, which we want to select first, and our category for national insurance. So if we select 2210 for the PAYE, okay, and you'll notice that's our nominal code for PAYE, and just go to details and enter the description. Okay, and then we're just going to enter the amount. Now all sort of tax payments are outside the scope of VAT, so make sure you select the tax code for items outside the scope of VAT, which is T9. Okay, and again, you just want to pick up the nominal code for national insurance, enter the description, and select the correct tax code. Okay, just take a minute to check that the details you have entered are correct. And save. Okay, so we're now going to move on to task 11, and we're going to run our VAT return for the period ending the 30th of April. Okay, now in order to run a VAT return, we need to be in Financials. So if you go to Financials, again either through the Modules option, or if you find the shortcut link, okay, you'll notice here that within the Financials toolbar we have a VAT button. So you want to select the VAT, And what we'll have here is we have the value added tax return comes up. So we just need to enter the dates for which we're running the VAT return, which is going to be from the 1st of April to the 30th of April. Once you've entered the date range, we just need to select calculate, okay, to allow Sage to calculate the amounts owed. Okay, it'll come up telling us how many transactions there are for the period. Before you send your VAT return into HMRC, you should check the reports thoroughly. Just make sure all the transactions have been allocated to the correct VAT code and nothing's been missed. Okay, so now this gives us our VAT return to go to HMRC, and we just see here that it's stating that we need to pay a VAT of £38,591.56. Okay, it's saying that our total sales excluding VAT is this amount in box 6. The total value of purchases excluding VAT is this amount in box 7. And then we have other details up here, basically just telling us the VAT that is due on sales that we've made, and then the VAT that we can reclaim, so the VAT from our inputs, i.e. our purchases, is here in box 4. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to just run the report so we can see the details, i.e. the backup behind these numbers here. So if we go to print, again we don't actually want to print it out, we just want to preview the reports. So select the print button, and we're going to have a look at the VAT return we've seen already. What we really want to look at is the detailed report, but I think in the question we're told to print out a VAT return, print out a summary report, and print out the detailed report. So just select all those boxes there, and then make sure again that you're on preview. We don't actually want to print it out, just want to have a look at the reports first. So make sure you're on preview and then select run. Okay, and we can see now that our reports have been run. So we have our VAT return for our records, but as I say, we want to just check the figures behind these balances here. So if we just select Sage, we can have a look at the summary, but more importantly, have a look at the detailed report. So here within the detailed report, you can check each transaction. You can see the VAT code that's been allocated to each transaction. So you just want to go through and check that those are correct, or that they match to the exercise. Okay, once that you've checked all your details are correct, and the VAT codes are correct, etc., and the VAT return is going to be sent off, what you can do is basically reconcile your VAT return. So you want to select reconcile, and this will effectively take those VAT transactions out of the VAT return calculation, so that they won't get caught up in future VAT returns. So we can reconcile our VAT return. Okay, that's been done. I say, very important to check through and make sure that everything's correct before you do this, because if you reconcile and then find that there's an error, it's difficult to correct it later. So this will like flag the transactions, so all those transactions now will be sort of put away. Okay, so that's Sage reconciling the VAT return for us, and now we can just close. Okay, now the reason I just wanted to show you how to reconcile the VAT return is because what we can do then is we can come to Manage VAT. So again, remain within Financials. And if we now just come to the Manage VAT link here on the left, we can manage our VAT returns. Okay, so you'll note here that we've got our VAT return, let's say, which would normally be done for a quarter, but for this exercise we're just running it for the month, just to show you the process. It will say basically this is the return for our first quarter effectively, and you know, the amount that's been paid. Okay, moving on to task 12, we now just want to continue with the bank reconciliation. So if we go to bank, first of all, let's just have a look at the actual question. Okay, now what we have here is a sort of a dummy bank statement. So we've now received our bank statement from our bank, which is NatWest, and you'll see we've got our account number details. Okay, this bank statement is actually for the 30th of April 2013. The bank statement number is up here, so it's always good actually when you're setting up your bank reconciliation to use the statement number, because this will be unique. The date might be used on several different pages, although that can be used if you're downloading bank statements from the internet, for example, and you might not actually have the unique statement number. But in the first instance, this is the reference to use. Failing that, use the date. You know, what we want to do is we basically want to look at the transactions here that are on our bank statement that we've received from the bank, and tick them off or tie them up to the transactions that we've entered into Sage. So this is our reconciliation, a control check, to check that transactions that are going in and out of the bank account are accurate. So to run a bank reconciliation on Sage, we, as I said, come to bank, and then within the bank toolbar you should see a button reconciliation. Okay, so let's reconcile there. Okay, so we want to select that button. So if we select reconcile, that brings up this statement summary. Now here we just enter the references for this bank reconciliation. So I said the statement reference should be the statement number ideally. If you don't have a statement number, then use the date on which your completing the bank reconciliation to, which in this case would be the 30th of April. Okay. The end balance here, that is effectively going to be the closing balance on your bank statement. So it will be the closing balance here. So the balance on the last day that we're reconciling up to effectively. So that's our end balance there that we need to enter to Sage. Okay, the statement date we need to enter, that's the 30th of April. Okay, and we're not going to worry about interest earned entering it here, we're just going to enter any transactions straight. We're going to reconcile anything via the bank account, and any interest would have been probably entered already. So we're just going to say OK. Right, so here we are in the bank reconciliation. We've got our details up there. They could be amended within this screen if any of them were correct. If we'd entered the wrong date or the wrong end balance, we could amend in this screen. But the main thing we need to do is we just need to have a look at our bank statement and then start ticking off the items. So the first item, just to get it started, is going to be our opening balance, which is 82,143. So we need to find that within Sage. Okay, and there it is there. Okay, so that was entered at the beginning with our opening balance journal. So what we can do is we can just highlight that item, and you'll notice here on the right the match button is there, so we can just match it. So effectively what we're doing is matching our transactions that have been entered to Sage with the bank statement. And then we go down to the next one, which is on the 5th of April, a cheque went out of the bank with the cheque reference 100600. Now this is why it's important to enter the correct references when you're posting to Sage, so that you can pick them up when you're doing your bank rec, and that's for 200. So we just need to look for that amount now within Sage. Okay, and here we have a cheque reference 100600, and it's for £200, so that's the correct one. So we can highlight it and then match. Now another thing you might notice as we're coming down matching these transactions is we have a running balance here. So this should correspond with the running balance within your bank account. So if we just look here, we've got 81,943.89. So if I come to the bank account, here we have 81,943.89 as well. So our reconciliation on Sage so far is matching or reconciling with the bank statement we've received from the bank, so we can assume those transactions are correct. Okay, so we just continue down. So if you continue down with me, just finding the transactions that are in the bank account and matching them in Sage. Okay, avoid the temptation to just go down like that and try and highlight them all, because when you're doing larger reconciliations, it's more difficult if there's an error to find it. If you've gone and highlighted 100 transactions or something, you have to go through each one individually or unhighlight everything and start again, so you actually end up wasting more time. Okay, so we've come to the end of the transactions within our bank statement. So you'll notice two things. We've got our balances have matched. So if we come down here, you'll see this is our match balance that we've matched within Sage. This was the original statement balance that we entered, and our difference is 0. Okay, so that's our bank is reconciling okay. Now you might notice here we've got some receipts still here. Well, that's fine. If there's anything still up here, obviously you need to just look into it and ask why. Well, this is money that we received, but we received it on the 30th of April. So chances are, this is the 30th of April now, we've probably either just paid the receipt in, so it probably won't clear for another 3 or 4 days. So we'll be looking to make sure those receipts have cleared the bank statement, you know, around early May. If they haven't, then we need to start asking questions as to where that money is. There may be outstanding checks, possibly, which is more likely, so you might have some check payments that are outstanding, which maybe haven't been received, that were posted out towards the end of the month, and maybe haven't been received by the suppliers yet, or haven't been paid into their bank accounts. Checks, you know, may not clear for anything up to 6 months. Okay, so just be aware of that. But once you've, you know, once it's reconciled, the difference is 0, then we can just select the reconcile tab down here. Okay, so just to check that went through. Actually, we can just ignore, it's not going to do anything. If we just select OK, yep, you'll see here the last reconciled balance. And this is always maybe a check you should do before you do your next reconciliation. Is just check that the last reconciled balance does match with the bank statement, so that you're not sort of starting to work, putting on an error possibly on top of another error. Okay, but that matches, so everything is fine. So we can now just move on to task 13. So I'll just close that down. Don't want to save any changes. Okay, so in task 13, what we're doing here is we're basically going to be entering a payroll journal. So this is something that's done on a monthly basis, and it's going to be the payroll journal for April. Now, okay, just let's have a look at the nominal ledgers. Okay, we have gross wages, which is going to an expense account, and we have employers NI, which is also going to an expense account. You'll note that the others, like PAYE, NI and wages, are actually going to the current liability accounts. So basically the gross wage plus the employer's NI, that is our expense, that's our payroll expense, that's going to be reported in our profit and loss. The PAYE, NI and net wages is what we owe. Okay, so that's our liability that will be reported in the balance sheet. So we're going to owe HMRC the payroll taxes that we paid earlier, and for this month, and we're going to owe our staff net wages. Okay. So at the end of each month, we'll effectively have a liability outstanding to HMRC and a liability outstanding to our staff, and then that will be paid obviously the payroll will be paid at the end of the month, but the payroll taxes tend to be paid towards the middle of the following month. Okay, we're going to enter it as a journal. Okay, now just before we start entering this payroll journal, I'll just bring up a little Excel example. Now, it's sort of a mini payroll report for Smart Properties Design Limited, but what I want you to take account of is basically, if, for example, your manager came up to you and said, how much is Sadia Thakrani costing us? Okay, what the amounts that you would need to be looking at would be the total gross plus the employer NI. Okay, so these are the two amounts you would want to add up. Okay, in order to find out how much Sadia is actually costing the firm. And you could do that with a few employees. Okay, so that's effectively, as I was just saying, as you'll see from the payroll report, that it's the gross wages and the employer's NI that's actually allocated as an expense to the profit and loss. Okay, so you all know how to enter a journal. We've done that before, so I'm just going to go ahead and enter this journal, and then we'll finish the exercise so we can end for today. Okay, remember you can always access this through modules as well on the top toolbar. Okay, again, just check that the details that you've entered are correct, and then save. Okay, remember to back up your work before you go. Thank you.